Hi everybody, this is the brief lecture that I promised you yesterday when we ran out of time. I want to talk a little bit about some principles of searching. What I mean by this, oops, I should start at the beginning. What I mean by this is that we've been talking about ways of searching for literature and evidence in specific tools, but I want to pull back and look at some things to keep in mind no matter what tool you're searching. So that means things that are true of almost every system that contains scholarly literature. This is something to just keep in mind no matter what library or work environment you're in. These will be useful concepts for you to apply when you're searching for literature. So the first principle I want to talk about is the idea that your results are determined by the scope of the tool that you're in. Or, to put it another way, you can only find what's in the system. And what I mean by that is you want to choose a database or a collection of material that's likely to have in it what you want to find. That means that if I'm searching for a book, if I want an encyclopedia or a book's worth of information, I would search in the library catalog rather than searching in PubMed Central, which is much better for finding scholarly journal articles rather than books, right? Or if I'm looking for health information, I'm not going to look in a database that's on I'm not going to look in a database that covers sociology, right? Because what I want is health evidence. So I'm going to go to a system like PubMed or Health and Wellness Resource Center or Science Direct, databases that I know contain the kind of material that I want. The other idea there is you can't always know what's going to contain the material that you want, so don't rely on a single tool. When you're searching, you want to pick the keywords that best fit your concept and then try those keywords in lots of different databases before you go back and change your concept or change your keywords. And that's just a way, if you don't know what the best database is, just quickly try several searches in several different databases and compare how many results you get in each of those and what the quality of those results is. The second principle I wanted to talk about is that the words you use to search need to match the words that can be searched. In some databases, when you type in your search terms, it will compare those terms against the full text of any article that's in that database. But in some cases, it will only compare it against the record for that text, which means not the full text of the article, but some descriptive words about the text, like the author, the title, the abstract. And every database has what's called a controlled vocabulary. That's true of everything but Google Scholar of the ones that we've looked at. And that means a set of words that the system recognizes as being the best way to describe certain concepts. And so we ran into this when we were looking at Voss's question yesterday. He searched using an acronym in I think it was in both PubMed and an EBSCOhost. And in one of those databases, it brought up a lot of results, and in the other one, it didn't bring up really any results. And the reason, the way that I would explain that, both of those databases would have lots of material on that concept, but one of the databases probably included the acronym as part of its controlled vocabulary, and the other database spelled it out rather than using the acronym. So because he was searching using the acronym and it didn't match the words to describe that concept in the database, it didn't return results. Because you can't know that before you start searching, the way to kind of manage that is to have lots of synonyms for the concepts you're interested in. So you want to think about lots of different ways that your concept could be talked about, and then try each of those before you switch databases, before you start looking in another place because you think that the place you're looking doesn't have what you're looking for. So another example of this was when we looked at Tim's question and when we used marijuana, cannabis, and weed. We used all three of those concepts. Rather than just cannabis, we brought back more results because the system recognized one of those as being a better way to talk about that concept. The third principle of searching is one that I'm going to show you, and it's the idea that you can almost always filter your results to get a more relevant set of results. So what that means is before you start looking through 1,500 results for a particular search, filter it down to make sure that those results match the things that you're interested in. Let me show you what I mean by that. Sorry for being clumsy, guys. Okay, so if we're in EBSCOhost databases and we wanted to look up, I already started looking for it. If we wanted to look up Tim's question, marijuana and lung function. I've already got filters set on this. So the original search actually brings back 16 results. But I know that I don't care about results that go all the way back to 1975. So before I even start reading these, I'm going to set a couple of criteria that make my results more relevant to me. I'm going to bring this slider up to 2005. Now I'm down to 14 results. I only want scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles because that's all that's acceptable for our project. Right now we're down to 10 results. So I'm going to be looking at these results more carefully than I would have looked at that original set of results because there were some results that were totally irrelevant to me. Let's try something else. Let's try looking at PubMed. Okay, so I'm going to look for marijuana. So I've got 204 results in here, but I can also make some selections over here. Like let's say I only want to look for free full text. Now I'm down to 31 results. Let's say I only want to look at review articles. Okay, now I'm down to 6 results, right? So this is, I'm not saying that you need to restrict your results before you start looking at them. But if you know that certain types of results aren't going to be relevant to you, like maybe ones that are more than 5 years old, then you can make those selections before you start looking at your results to narrow down to a more relevant result set. And that's true of most systems. It's not, some systems have better filtering options than others. So if you remember when we were looking at Google Scholar, one of my criticisms of Google Scholar is that it's pretty hard to filter your results. So you can do a couple things over here. Sort by date. That's not really a filter, it's a sorting option. And you can look for patents and case law. Neither of those things is relevant to you. And you can adjust the date range, but that's about it. It won't let you sort by study type, for instance, the way that PubMed will. The last principle I wanted to talk about is that your first search is never your last search. So there's a lot of things to think about here. It's easy to get frustrated if you do a search and it doesn't bring you back results that seem relevant or useful. But something that's important to remember is, first of all, if you adjust your keywords or if you compare across several databases, you might find that one search actually is useful as long as you do it in a couple of different databases. But the other thing that's important to remember is that when you look at the results that you do get, if you get, let's say, one result that looks really relevant, look at the record or look at the article and look at the language that's being used there. You can learn from the language that's used in a relevant article to revise your search and try again. And that's something, sometimes people are like, oh, I only got one result that looked useful. Okay, well, rather than just leaving it at that and sticking with that one result, look at that result and think about how you can change your search to make it better match the language that experts are using about your topic. It's important to remember that you're not always going to know where to look, what words to use to look for something, or how to refine it usefully until you've had a look at the literature. That's why we call this kind of research iterative. It means you have to keep trying it over and over again, but each try is influenced by the prior try because you're learning as you go. And so that's just something to remember, that before you get frustrated, you can try several different ways. You can apply all of the principles we talked about in this presentation to adjust your searches before you need to get frustrated and change what you're researching. So that's what I've got for principles of searching. I had a wonderful class with you guys yesterday. It was great to see you, and I hope this is helpful. Please send me any emails or questions if any of this doesn't make sense.